I put out a couple fights that I'd love to see. I'd love to see Haney and Tank. I know he went
That's
up for
the one
weight.
I was going to ask you about next.
Yeah.
What do you think there? What's the breakdown?
I don't think anyone beats TankDavis. I think that much for TankDavis. Maybe not outside the ring. I hope he's getting better in that area, quite frankly. But in the ring, I don't think any of these guys beat Tank. I think he's that good. He's that good a puncher where you can't make a mistake, and he's that good of an athlete as far as pure talent and technically and cerebrally in that ring, where he finds a way, where he does what has to be done. He's patient. He's not just a seek and destroy missile. He's patient. He takes little steps. If he has to not come forward, he won't come forward. He'll move around for a while. He'll find the key to the door. If he has to give ground, he'll give ground. He'll set traps. I think that much of TankDavis in the ring.
Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to BodyWorkBoxing. I watched a list given by Akim Barak from DAZN. Salute to these guys. You know what I'm saying? I just sourced one of the interviews talking about Shakur Stevenson. Good interview. I think we got a lot of answers. But this DAZN's top 10 pound for pound list given by Akim Barak was a little bit of a head scratcher. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit of a head scratcher. Like, you know, they start off with Terrence Bud Crawford. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, they went on to Canelo Alvarez. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? Now, then they went on to Naoya anyway. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then at number 4, they had Devin Haney. That's when I knew. I said, man, it's like this list, man. It's gonna be kind of hard for me to hear this list after this. You know what I'm saying? Because you gotta think, in the grand scheme of things, nobody ever talks about this. Pound for pound, a lot of people correlate pound for pound, meaning that if two fighters fought in the same weight class against each other, that this guy will come out on top. Like, boiled down in layman's terms, if we were in the same weight division and we had a chance to fight, with the exception of heavyweights, they also had a couple heavyweights on there. That's not why I was just like, man, I can't take this list serious. That's not why. Because some people do put heavyweights on there. All I think that does is take a spot away from, I think it should be a top 10 heavyweights, and then it should be a top 10 pound for pound. And they should not cross over, because heavyweight is heavyweight. You break a threshold, and anybody up there, that's why I don't like how people complain. Mike Tyson ain't never complained about how big or how many more pounds somebody was. He would just get in there, do his thing, and knock somebody out. You know what I'm saying? That's all he would do. He never complained about somebody having him by 30 and 40 and 50 pounds. That's why there's the cliche term, there's weight classes for a reason. But when I seen that they had Devin Haney on there at number 4 at number 4, well, I maybe I'm different, but I expect fighters to at least at some point in time have some kind of disadvantage. Devin Haney has never had the height disadvantage. He's never had the reach at disadvantage. And shout out to Coach Kenny from Upton Boxing, because he say height don't fight. But I'm just saying, if you had some height versus not having some height, in the grand scheme of things, that's an advantage. That's why they read off that stat. He's always had the height advantage. He's always had the reach advantage. He's always had the size advantage. And he always had the benefit of having an age advantage. Like, we don't know pound for pound what you are when you've always had these advantages. And yes, people think that, oh man, when you say, oh, he struggled with Lomachenko, that it's a knock on him or Lomachenko. It's really not a knock. The reality of the matter is, Lomachenko came back, fought sloppy against Jermaine Ortiz, somebody who had sparred him before numerous rounds, kind of knew who he was, and it was an ugly dub. But who don't get an ugly dub from now and then? He came back from the war for the Jermaine Ortiz, and then turned right around and then fight Devin, who is arguably, if we're talking about him coming in rehydrated above Regis Prograis by 25 pounds, there was a joke in the build-up where when they're in the ring and Devin had the skeleton sweater on, he looked over at Lomachenko looked over him and said, "Oh, he's a middleweight." It was a joke. This actually happened on film. We don't know what you are putting somebody like that at number 4. So I'm like, okay, cool. That's just a matter of opinion. There are a lot of Devin Haney fans on YouTube. There are a lot of Devin Haney fans on YouTube that he has a lot of fans on YouTube. You know, as far as pay-per-views and things like that, you know, it's just a different. That's a business aspect. You know what I'm saying? That's just a different thing. That's something aside from a pound-for-pound list. But as I looked at the list, with the exception of having the heavyweights on there, which I would take some of those heavyweights off, that would give opportunities for, you know, heavyweights that they actually have. I think the 2 heavyweights that they actually have on the list, that would give 2 other people in any of these other weight classes an opportunity to be on the list. But we kept looking at them. They got me where right at the end they said that they would have had Gervonta TankDavis on the list because they had him on the pound-for-pound list the last fight. Like the last time they did a list. The last time. They said they had him at like 9 or 10 the last time they did a list. But the reasoning, and this is why, because I'm learning. I want to be able to sit down and interview these guys. I want to be able to have access. I'm in the game. You know what I'm saying? I'm building brick by brick. So I'm learning and I'm listening, but the logic behind why they said Gervonta TankDavis was not on the top 10 pound-for-pound list was because he needs to step up in his level of competition. And I was like, Eureka? Like, really? Okay. If that's the precipice as to why he got snubbed on the DAZN list, then how is it that the guy, your number 4 guy, the guy that you have number 4 in Devin Haney, is looking and in negotiations to fight a fighter that Tank knocked out with a body shot in his last fight? Yeah, where I'm from, that's over. That's it. That's like, no, that these two things cannot be the same. These two, especially, and then people will say, oh man, it was because the drain and this. No, TankDavis moved up to 140. Stop the guy. And that guy is the alternative. That's the other name that your number 4 guy was calling out to fight, who he sparred many times, and that was okay. And everybody saying, oh yeah, it could be him or Keith Thurman if he went up to 47. These two things cannot be true. When you look at it, Gervonta TankDavis pretty much always has a disadvantage in his fight. We know height don't fight, but he's always at a disadvantage in height, more than likely in reach. If you look at a lot of the guys he fought, even guys that were at lower weight classes, but that were naturally bigger than him, he's pretty much always been at a disadvantage. There's a couple people where he might have had to reach over. I think he had to reach over Gamboa. You know, height-wise, he might have had the height advantage over Pitbull Cruz. But you can't tell me there's one fighter who's moved up through 4 weight classes, become a champion, stopping people that go on. And they even said this on the video where they said that Keith Thurman went a full 12 rounds in Mario Barrios. But that was a potential opponent for your number 4 guy. That logic just don't make sense. You know what I'm saying? I think that's when politics actually come into pound-for-pound boxing conversations. But you can't tell me a fighter that has always had all the advantages is number 4. But it would almost be a curse word if you asked your number 4 to fight your number 1. That would almost be a curse word. And there are other fighters on there that did not make the list who've already shown that they beat champions, like multi-division champions already in their prime. So once again, TankDavis gets snubbed. We already know, man, if there was a chance to buy a stock, like let's just say there was Gervonta TankDavis hate, and it was a stock on the New York Stock Exchange, man, you'd be making so much money, man, because the Tank hate and the stock in it. Not to mention that it was all this controversy just this past week that supposedly, allegedly, Gervonta TankDavis is avoiding Eddie Hearn and the sum or the lump sum of a middleman or situation where he could have grabbed 20 million. People, they're not trying to go give TankDavis 20 million because he ain't the real deal. And Eddie Hearn, the guy that's associated with DAZN, will have no interest in actually pursuing this guy. And Devin would not be calling out this guy's name so much if Gervonta TankDavis wasn't everything that people say that he is. Trainers, coaches, alike. Everybody say that the man is special. We've seen him do it in different weight classes where he's at all the disadvantages. Somehow you can find 10 other fighters better than Gervonta TankDavis in the sport of boxing right now at this time. Yet your number 4 wants to fight somebody who he knocked out in their next fight. What do you think? Let me know in the comments, man. I mean, it's boxing is kind of weird, man. I mean, you know, and again, this is the alternative to opinion-based content. This is fact-based content. I would love to get your comments. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Am I totally off? Am I totally on? And you can say, oh man, all these fighters flat-footed, this and this. Okay, well, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, I suppose. When this other guy is chasing after all of his leftovers. He did the same thing with Gamboa. Now, years later, he's doing it with Ryan Garcia. And now, there was talks of Mario Barrio. We can't let politics get into our pound for pound, man. Let me know. Put your pound for pound list on there. Does Gervonta TankDavis deserve to be on your pound for pound list? And look, we don't do yes men. If he don't, but come with something legitimate as to why he doesn't deserve to be on the top 10 pound for pound list. And I want to know, name me 10 fighters that are better than Gervonta TankDavis on that pound for pound list. When Shakur made it, Devin made it. I don't get it. Anyway, let me know. Thanks for tuning in here at BodyWorkBoxing, where we don't take things for face value. We do that body work. Welcome to BodyWork.